Good evening, guys. Nottingham Forest have finally started a bit of movement in the transfer window, and Iheanacho has been bidded on for £8 million. But how good a deal do you all think it is? Welcome to Grumpy Old Reds. Good morning, good evening, or good night, wherever in the world you are. Hope you're having a wonderful day, and welcome to yet another hot evening in the UK. We've got, as always, Mr. Dependable these days. Eds, how you doing, bud?
I'm really good, mate. How are you? Have we
Right,
got a bit of feedback?
I can hear a little
There's a bit of crackling, isn't there?
kind of thing. They'll let us know in the chat if it's weird.
Sure.
And it's our pleasure to say we've got Senor Tom Brooks. How are you, Tom? I don't know why I called you Senor. I don't know. It just came out.
I'm doing very well. Fangirling just a little bit. I'm a big fan of the show. Thank you for having me.
That's a pleasure to have you, mate.
Yeah. So
how can you fangirl us, guys and girls? Go follow Tom on Instagram. What you on now, Tom? Over like 500 million? Or
Half a million. Half a billion, yeah.
So guys, make sure you follow Tom. Tom, do you want to give him just a quick intro into who you are? Maybe some of the blokes won't know you. I'm sure the ladies do.
Probably. I'm not allowed to mention the show that I was on, but I've been on multiple in America for one of the TV networks there, all dating shows, to which I asked someone if they'd put on weight during one of them that didn't go down too well, and became the bad boy of the TV show, I guess. So yeah, I've been doing that for about 5 years now. They keep rolling me out into other little things, and yeah, it's been a good ride. It's been enjoyable. But during my period of time being all over the world, I keep tuning into your great channel, so keeps me up to date with everything Forest.
Fantastic. And what's your background with Forest? And guys, I've just put Tom's Instagram link there, so if you're on Instagram, make sure you go and show Tom some love there. What's the love affair been with Forest? How did that all begin, Tom?
It's a family affair. My mother's got 5 brothers, and they were all Forest fans, and my grandfather was a Forest fan too. So I've been going since, I think my first game I was about 3 or 4. But the first one I can remember was, who was the bald-headed Dutch player that played for us like a long time ago?
Roy.
No, way
Johnny
before that. Yes.
Johnny Metcalf.
Yeah, Johnny Metcalf. I remember going to see, and Johnny Metcalf scored twice, and every time they scored, they threw me up in the lower executive and ended up like landing on my head. They thought it was most amusing. But yeah, I've been going season ticket holder in the year when we were promoted last time, and I've always kept in touch with being able to be part of the fan base, and wherever I've been, I always kind of find a way to get back at least 2 or 3 times a year to watch a game. So that's my Forest background. But I've been sitting, watching the show, biting my nails, enjoying the commentary, being superstitious, tuning in and out, thinking watching the show might not help, and then realized it would. So no, it's been great. But big Forest fan for many years.
Good to have you, buddy. Good to have you. Look at this. We got the celebs, guys, all over the world, and they all love the Forest. We love to see it. And Jan, we love you. Thank you for becoming a member. Much, much appreciated. Welcome into the family. Right, we got a lot to talk about today, boys. I just want to start by mentioning, and a quick reminder to everyone, I don't know if you guys have caught up with the videos from this afternoon, but we have finally got the date for the FFTV barbecue, which will be on the, I forgot the date now, it's 6th.
6th of August.
August. It'll be at Trent Nav. We'll be doing a live show, a barbecue, a chat. We'll get you guys involved in the audience. So make a note in the diary. We've got it all confirmed with the wonderful guys at Trent Nav. We had a good chat with them yesterday. We'll have all the official details coming through. We're trying to get a few special guests in as well. We'll keep you posted on it. But if you can make it, we'd love to have you. Probably opening the doors from 3 p.m. and kicking it off at about 4. So it won't be a winter one. Winter one, cold will be there. But they are putting some upgrades in. So make sure we'll keep you posted throughout the week. We should by the end of the week know all the details. Okay. And one last thing as well. As FFTV is looking to expand and we're starting to, piss more people off, it's we've got a few other channels that we're creating. The latest one, we've got the FFTV Premier League one. It's pinned in the comments. So please make sure you subscribe to that. Give it a quick click. Give the video a quick like as well. All right, let's jump in and let's get on with this Iheanacho story.
Mm-hmm.
As we heard about the story, and it was about 16 to 20 million about a week or two ago, and it felt a bit expensive to me. I thought he was a decent player, but the price was quite high. And then it comes out today that we're looking and had an offer accepted, if you believe the rumors, that it's going to be about 8 million plus a couple in add-on. Does that change your perception of him, or were you happy with even at 16 million? What were your thoughts on Iheanacho? I can't remember what you said, bro.
No, I think back to last week. I'm sure my thoughts were so memorable last week. But thinking back to it, I'm sure it was the price tag that was putting me off, and obviously losing him for the African nations as well. So those two combined with a 16-20 million pound price tag was not for me, because I didn't think he was really the challenger to Awoniyi that I think we need. I still think we do need, but £8 million price tag. I think that's much more palatable, and he is a good player. I don't think he's really had the run in any team that he's been in, apart from his early stint at Man City, where he really broke through. But he's not really had the opportunity to, and when he has been given that opportunity, he does score goals and he does create goals as well. So I think he needs a run in a team, doesn't he? And that would probably bring out the best in him. But he's got quality, and he's played the majority of his career in the Premier League, and that's a massive boost in his favour. So, with the price tag and everything else involved, then it's a lot more of a deal that I'd be more interested in us trying to complete, to be honest. So I'm hoping that it does actually go through.
I just need to check. Is that little feedback coming from Tom's on? Just speakers?
I think it was coming from me, mate.
I think it is. I just mean there was just a little.
Can I go out and come back in?
It's not you. I think it's coming from Tom's side. But I'll jump to Tom now. Anyway, Tom, do you agree with what Ez is saying there, or have you got any apprehensions about Iheanacho? I mean, Leicester did get relegated. They were shit. Let's be honest. Last season, should that be a concern? Should we be fishing in that relegated market, or do you think at 8 million this is worth a punt? And guys, I'm going to put a poll up for you guys, so I'm keen to find out your thoughts.
Well, personally, I think there's like a few bargains to be had from the relegated sides. Cooper's got a system that he wants to play. We didn't get to play much last season, and I think he's a good player. I just don't think he was the player we were hoping for.
Yeah,
I think we're all sat thinking, God, who's going to be the big name that's coming in this year that's really going to get us off our seat, really excited, another player to add to the few that we've got that are quite exciting. And I think because he's been to a few clubs, really hasn't done as, like, you're looking at it, if he'd have done well, we'd have been paying 40-50 million, which he hasn't.
Yeah.
So 8 million, secondary striker, probably not what we all wanted, but I think he'll be good enough to do the job given a run of games, which under Cooper, some of the players don't get that. So I hope he's not a bench warmer that comes on and is another, we've got another situation where we've got another player that's not coming in, not getting the run, and we're all sat back thinking, well, that wasn't really the investment we wanted to make.
Yeah, it's interesting what you say about does he get a run-in with Cooper? Because would you, from the way you were talking there, would I be right to assume that you would still have Awoniyi ahead of him?
Yeah, definitely. I think he did a really great job in the Bundesliga. Came here, he's taken some time to get used to the style of play, to get up to speed with Premier League football. And some of the performances he were putting in reminded me of Drogba a little bit by the end.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be really good this year, but African Cup of Nations is going away. If he gets an injury, we need someone of that ilk to come in and really push us like he started to.
Yeah. I've got a feeling. I want to explore this a bit now. Does Cooper change formations? Is he lining up? I said it on the video earlier. Is he lining up a 5-2-1-2 kind of formation, the old championship?
Yeah, almost like a 3-5-2 on the basic level. But you obviously intricacies in between. It's an option, isn't it? And I think if he's going to be looking to be more progressive and to give us more of a threat up front, then it might be an option that he is looking at. But I think they'd work well together. And as you mentioned in your video earlier, Iheanacho's always worked better in a two.
Yeah.
So it definitely gives us that option. But also touching on what Tom's just said about the bargains in the lower leagues. There's still one player striker-wise that I'd like us to go in for, and that's Rodrigo at Leeds, who I think, with his price tag as well, and the type of player he is, would give us a different dimension. But there's definitely bargains to be had. I think Cooper could be looking to do that 3-5-2 because he has to have a plan B. And the plan B ended up being a plan A last season, didn't it? When he saw that, going back and keeping it tight was our best option. But that can't be our option for every single game. We've got a really tough start to the Premier League, as Tom will probably attest to as well, looking at the fixtures, especially away from home. But those home games, we've got real opportunities to pick up points. So he's got to have an option where we are more attacking and we're going to create more chances further up the field. And potentially playing with two up front is going to give us those opportunities and those options. So I think it definitely plays into that thinking, but I think he's a good addition at that price, and I think if it does give, even if it's just, I don't think it's just going to be straight competition for Awoniyi. So I'd probably agree with that. There's an opportunity that we'll be both playing together in the front two.
Yeah, Tom, where do you stand on the formation thing? Do you want us to go back to 3-5, whatever people call it? I don't know. Or are you looking for more a 4-back formation? What's your preferred style? And what do you think our best work is?
I really like the way we played the season we got promoted against the Premier League clubs. And I know we had Spence on the right, and the combination between him and Johnson was like something that was real for us to get into a game. But I think if we try and revert back to that system, and play the expansive football that we were playing against the mid-table to lower sides, I think we're going to get some really good results, and we're going to have to change it around for the top six, aren't we? Like we always have to. You'd always have to do that. So
you have to.
I think it's a great point because it was Leicester, Arsenal. Did we have one more that season? I can't remember.
Liverpool. Yeah.
Those three, Tom, we were aggressive at them. We didn't really play this low block football that we've seen a lot this season. And Cooper has said, hasn't he, that this isn't the style I want to play. He's kind of repeated that a few times towards the end of the season. Do you think that's the picture he's got in his mind going into that that style that we had, as you mentioned, against those Premier League teams in the Championship promotion season? Is that what you think he's working towards and that formation?
Yeah, I think that's what he's looking to go towards. It's something he's done at all the clubs he's been at and been successful with. I just don't think we were at a level where he could play that style. Buying that amount of players, getting them all gelled. At least now there's like a core of players that understand his principles. And moving forward, I think he's going to try and go back to what worked for him at all the other places he's been, including ourselves. It's a far more attractive way of playing football too for the fans. At least the ones I've seen that we did play that system.
Yeah,
it kind of got you on the edge of the seat a little bit, rather than just sitting back, soaking up the pressure and hoping someone didn't make a bad pass, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see what the chat's saying on Iheanacho. I'm going to struggle with that name. 72% want Iheanacho, 8% don't, and 19% are on the fence with him. At 8 million, I think he's worth it, boys. But my worry is now AFCON. And I know we'll come to a lot of the comments. Guys, get your questions and thoughts in. We'll bring them up and we'll use them as talking debates as well in a second. But it's this AFCON thing. I'm pretty sure I was right with what I said today. Forest have the most African players in the Premier League. And a lot of those are potentially going to go to the AFCON come January. Now, it's not as heavy as it could be. I think it's 4 weeks, but in that week, there's a mini winter break in the Premier League. So I think we'll miss 2 or 3 games with them. As Spirit's saying here, let's just hope Nigeria don't qualify, because that could literally wipe out our strike force. And then we end up with Wood. Is it something we need to think about, boys? I don't know who wants to start this one off. Maybe
we don't really want to be left with Wood and Sturridge as an option, do we?
That would be literally what's left, isn't it? We'd have Wood, Sturridge, and Dino's mum up front, basically. Yeah, but do you think we will still see more traffic coming through in terms of more attacking players in the window? Because is that something they're going to consider, or do they just ride it out and think, well, we wasted 19 million on Wood, or at least in my thought process.
Mm-hmm.
We use him for a month in that year and hope for the best.
Yeah, well, I know Simon in the chat. I don't know if he's in the chat tonight, but I know Simon's a big fan of Wood actually coming good at some point, and that might be his stage this African Nations break that he's going to get. But I think we've got to have another option. I really do. I know we were toying with the idea, and I'd be interested to hear what Tom thinks on this, because he was, obviously he followed a lot of that season that we got promoted. But Keenan Davis was mentioned last week for $5 million.
Okay.
And let me just ask the question. Let me ask Tom the question. Tom, for that amount, would you still be interested in taking Keenan Davis back? Or bringing him
the
in?
Games I saw him play live, he was I was like, okay, he used to pick up the ball, hold it well. His final product wasn't great. I'm not sure he's someone for the Premier League on a regular basis, and I don't think it's moving us forward.
Nick, if you're watching, that's what Nick was like, he's better than Awoniyi last week. I was like, whoa, man.
Yeah, if you watch the show, yeah, he kind of made a rod for his own back last week. Didn't
it's
he?
like having a girlfriend that you've got like really good fond memories of. That you kind of keep looking back and then you realize what she was really like.
Yeah. Well, you see her 10 years later and you're like, bloody hell, love. You let yourself go, didn't you? But it's true. Look, I don't want to get into the Keenan Davis debate.
No, we're not going to get into that debate.
But all I will say is he couldn't get in the Villa team. He didn't exactly pull up trees against Watford. So that's what I'm going to say. I do want to stick on Iheanacho, though. I just want to read some stats out to you, because he hasn't actually scored as many goals as I thought he did. So let me read these stats out to you in the chat. In his time at Man City from 2015 to 2017, played 46 games, scored 12 goals, 8 in one season, 4 in the next. With Leicester, in his first season, 21 games, 3 goals, 30 games, 1 goal, 20 games, 5 goals. He had a hot season in 2021. I think that's where he went on that 7-game scoring streak. Got 12 goals and 25 there. And in total, he's had 150 games for Leicester, 30 goals. And total in the Premier League, 196 appearances and 42 goals. Is that good enough, Tom?
Not really, is it?
No, is it?
Not really. It depends if we can keep hold of Johnson and Gibbs White's there, and they've already showed last season how they're going to gel. If we can manage to keep hold of both of them,
Yeah. It just worries me a little when you look at the stats and you just think, I felt he scored more goals than that when I broke it down. It's okay. We got Chester Leicester. By the way, shout out to him. Although he does support the scummy Leicester, it's always good to see him in here, and it's good to get the Leicester's insight. I did reach out to Lee Chappie. He was still crying about Nacho potentially leaving because he loves him as well. I think that's a fair point. Most of those appearances were off the bench. However, Ez, my argument back would be, why was he on the bench in the first place if he was good enough?
Yeah, but I still don't think he's been given the opportunity at any club that he's been at. So is he coming in knowing that he's not?
Yo, bro, he's had like 7 years in the Premier League, man.
Yeah, exactly. So what is it, an attitude problem? Or I don't think it's an ability. I don't think it's a question of his ability. I think he's got the ability. I think he's just really, he's one of those players who's not hit his potential. And what is he, 26 now? He should be in the prime of his career right now. This might be his last chance to loon. So maybe if we do take him on, and he knows that, we might get the best out of him. But there's obviously the link with Awoniyi as well. There's a few things that will help him settle into the club. But I think he hasn't had the opportunity, and he's certainly not hit his potential wherever he's been. But I think there's a player in there. At that price, it's worth a gamble. Like I said, at 16-20 million, I'm not willing to pay that price to take that gamble. But at 8 million, I am.
Yeah, I'm not against him coming. I'm just trying to put the counter argument, as we always say on here, to look at it from both sides.
Yeah.
But my instinct, and that's the first time I really just looked at the stats. My instinct was I expected more goals, especially, and I'll say this, especially because Leicester were actually doing all right for a lot of that period. Now you can argue Jamie Vardy was a lot younger, was a bit more in form. But it just feels like, I don't know. I was all for it, Tom, until I saw those goal stats. Yeah, but then I do take on what the chat is saying, and they're saying that he's not getting that much starting time. I think he'll end up being a either substitute or a 2.
I think it's going to end up being a Dennis Mark 2.
That does worry me.
That's
Do you think Cooper's had a say in this one, Tom?
I hope he has. I hope he's getting a say in who's coming in, and we're not just looking at bargains for the sake of looking at bargains. He needs to get a core group of players that can work well together. Surely there's some younger English player that we could bring in. This, he can mold into something a little bit better at around the same price.
There is the Man City guy, Borje, I think it's pronounced, 11 mil, lightning fast. The guy we spoke about last week.
Yes. Yeah.
But looking at this equation, if we're and chat, what do you think, chat? Do you think that Cooper is going to this back 3, back 5, whatever you want to call it from the Championship times? If he is, does Jono fit in as? This is what I'm trying to picture now, and kind of just bringing this. I don't want to go too deep into Jono. We've rinsed it to death over the last few weeks. But is Jono becoming a square peg in a round hole in the formation that Cooper's looking?
If we're looking at that formation, then he doesn't quite fit into it, doesn't he? Does he? Because it's he'd be looking to play like a cam behind two strikers, and that doesn't work. That's not Brennan's best position. He needs to be out wide to really make an influence on the game. So yeah, it kind of pushes him out of that thinking, doesn't it? And it makes you then wonder, because there has been slightly a bit more movement on Villa's interest in Brennan this week, hasn't it? Yeah. And that's the one club that we've said that would make sense for him to go to if there's any club that he goes to. But Cooper's got to nail it down then, and we'll have to see what happens in terms of the type of players that he's bringing in. But if he does go to that kind of formation, then it doesn't really bode too well for Brennan Johnson fitting into that, unless Brennan's adaptable. I think
technically he played it in the Championship, didn't he? Although officially he was part of the 2 up front, he always ended up being wide. Yeah, but
what helped in the Championship was the way that Jed Spence played. I know we're going back over, because he was the wide man that gave Brennan a bit more space, and certainly gave him freedom, because, like we've mentioned, Jed would take 2 or 3 players with him, and that's opening up the opportunity for him to do that. And obviously it's a bit slower in terms of the build-up play in the Championship, but if he can make it work, yes. But he tried him a couple of times, didn't he? He did play that pivot with MG Dub playing behind Brennan and Awoniyi, and it didn't quite work for us, because he needs to be out wide. He needs to be out wide and creating that space and creating an opportunity to cross and get opportunities in. But I think we've got a guest in the background, haven't we?
Yeah, so, I don't know if he's a little lost, because this is a Premier League stream.
Hey, it's not me.
Listen. I'm taking the summer off on being a Leicester fan. I've got a Venezuela top on.
Mate, do me a favour. Turn your camera.
Less stressful.
Sorry, there you go. Oh no, it's not working. I don't think it's gonna work while I'm in StreamYard, will it?
Yeah,
there we go.
Well, guys, as I said, I did ask Chappie to come on, and bless him through the tears and stuff. Good to see you, matey. I did want to get a Leicester perspective on Nacho, as you keep calling him to me. You seemed. Well, I can't repeat the expletives you used on WhatsApp when I told you about it earlier, but you did seem a bit pissed off, mate.
I'm not sure if it's going to be true or not. I don't know. I don't know where you're getting all this reporting from for Nacho going to Forest, but if he does go, you're going to get a good striker there, especially for 8 mil. That's a ridiculous price.
Yeah, you had him higher than that, didn't you? When we talked about him last week, you were saying 15 to 20.
Yeah, I reckon 15-20 is a fair shout, but 8 mil, mate, you might as well go for it at 8 mil. What you got to lose?
Yeah, but why is he not started? That's the bit you still haven't
Brendan
convinced
Rodgers.
me about. You just go Brendan Rodgers.
Brendan
is a prick.
Rodgers.
Brendan Rodgers.
What, he's managed him for like 7 years.
I'll put it this way, right? So the whole season, Soyuncu got chucked out of the squad, right? The moment I'll do it in a second. The moment Rodgers left, Soyuncu's back in, and he's an absolute baller. He's made a mockery of Brendan's decision. So he had the same problem with Nacho.
Yeah, but you still went down, mate. You still went down.
Yeah, he wasn't that much of a baller, mate. You fucking know you went down.
It was too late. You know
It
that.
still hurts him. It still hurts him.
You can banter all you want, but the point is it was too late. Rodgers, it was too late.
Too little, too late.
Yeah.
Okay, but
Chappie, this is a good question. I just want to bring Tom in to you in a second as well. Would you rather lose Nacho or Daka?
Oh God, I'd rather lose Daka.
Seriously?
Yeah. He's not that guy.
I need convincing. I'm just not fully convinced. I think. Look,
If
what's his quality? What's his quality?
If he goes to you boys, I promise you now, in a few months' time, you'll message me and go, "He's decent." I know you will.
Okay, Chappie, sell him to us, mate. Forget that he's coming to Forest. Sell him to us. What are his attributes?
Nacho is a team player. He's not a lone striker. He's definitely better in a two. I reckon he's more of a supportive striker than the actual main striker. But he can hold the ball up quite well. To be honest with you, do you remember at school when there was that lad that always got past everyone no matter what? No matter what. That's him. That is him. He will get through everyone no matter what. I don't know how he does it. It just happens, and he can strike a ball as well. He's a good.
But does he do it frustratingly? Like, should he?
Yeah,
a lot of the complaints from Dennis have been he's over-egged the ball.
Yeah, he's what's the word?
Selfish bastard.
No. Unpredictable.
Okay,
unpredictable.
yeah.
Completely unpredictable, and that I think it's a defender's nightmare. He's so unpredictable.
Tom, is he selling this? Yeah. Where are you on it?
Unpredictable to me means you never really know what you're going to get.
He's completely unpredictable, but you know he'll score.
But the stats prove that he doesn't really score that much.
Well, yeah, that's right. You've seen stats, but he didn't play last season because of Brendan Rodgers.
Mate, he didn't play for many seasons, mate. He played more this year than he did last year.
Come on, when he signed, when we bought him for what, 25 mil from Man City. No one was replacing Jamie Vardy. No one.
Yeah,
absolutely no one. That's unfair to him, really.
So you think he had enough games to even prove his own?
I don't think he had enough time or games to prove that he could be that guy. And unfortunately, with Rodgers, no one could prove anything. If you weren't his favourite, you weren't his favourite.
Did he ever play him in a two with Vardy, or was there a stint where he did that?
Well, look at it this way. If you look at, you're gonna have to search it up because I can't remember the exact date. If you search it up when Vardy had his operation, Nacho became our solo striker. He was top goal scorer for us that season.
Yeah, that's the one where he went 7 in a row. Yeah,
he was fucking brilliant that season.
That was 2021. He got 12. That was his best season. 12 goals in 25.
That's because he got played back to back to back to back. He's a confidence player. If he starts scoring, he'll keep doing it. He's a good player.
So is he going to need like a streak of games to get himself up and running, or do you think 100%. He could hit the ground quickly?
100%. I am gutted to lose him. So, if it was someone else, if it was Daka, I'd be like. But
is it more of a okay? If you're resigned to losing him, you're going to lose him. Whatever. Is it a price tag that's pissed you off more than anything else? So?
Yeah, I'm just a bit surprised. It's because I thought he looked upset. It was the first one to come out with a post about going down and that we'll be back and all that. And
it wasn't wrong, mate. He's back.
At a discount price.
Yeah, because I know he likes it here as well. So I don't know. It is what it is, isn't it?
The problem I got, Chappie, I'll ask this to Tom because Eddie's right. Should we trust this Belen, seeing who he supports? And who he
Don't
looks
trust
like?
him. Don't trust him. Listen, I'm not flogging. I'm not flogging a dead horse here. I'm telling you now. I'm a bit gutted about losing Nacho. You can believe me or not believe me, but I'm telling you, I'm gutted about losing Iheanacho. If he goes to you, I'll be even more pissed.
Chat, yes or no? Do you believe Chappie? Yes or no?
I won't come in the stream and tell you this. I'm telling you now. I won't give you the time of day right now because I know you just banned me because we went down. So,
well, Jose's saying Agent Chappie sold him. Mark's saying if he liked it there, then he'll absolutely love it here. True.
That's true.
Spirits believe in me. Martin's like me. He doesn't trust you. Right? They're all. I mean, Chester. Obviously, he's going to do it. Yeah, right, Jamie.
How you doing, man?
I want to believe you.
I'm not happy about it. Yeah, I'm not.
Ask him what he thinks on Iheanacho, Chappie.
Yeah, what do you think, Nacho? Be honest, as a Leicester fan. We're not going. We don't get to see him much.
We don't get to see much. He doesn't get a start.
Yeah. See?
That's because of Brendan.
There you go.
That's it.
There you go.
You've trained him well, mate.
There you go.
I'm honestly saying that Iheanacho deserves a move because he barely gets to play.
There you go.
He either gets subbed on in the 70th minute and barely gets to play, or he doesn't come on at all and he sits and warms up the bench.
There you go.
Right, we're transferring you out, Chappie, mate. We'll bring him in, mate. He talks more sense.
And he also doesn't waffle.
Right, I've got to shoot. But there you go. There's
Bless
my
you, man.
50 pence.
Appreciate you coming on, bud. And congratulations on Connor Cody, who's apparently worth as much as Iheanacho because you bought him for 7.5.
Happy days.
We will see you boys in 12 months. All right, we'll see. You
Maybe.
Yeah.
No, you might get us in the FA Cup.
Oh, you never know. We might go up, and you might go down.
Did you say that last season, mate? What happened? All right, fuck off, Chappie. Cheers, bro. Appreciate you.
Enjoy the rest of your evening, bud.
He had to try and squeeze it in there. In there.
Oh, he's a legend now. Bless him.
It's weird because I have spoken to a few Leicester fans, and they all talk about him. Not to the extent that we talked about Jono, but in that same kind, they've got that bit of love for him. Should we buy into them, or are they just a delusional fan base?
I think they genuinely think. Sorry, go on, Tom. Go on.
No, I just thought it was funny that he was like the only reason he thinks we're going to play him next year is if we get relegated, because obviously they're staying where they are.
That is true. That is true, isn't it? And we ain't going down, guys. We ain't going down. I don't know. What are you saying, Sophie? Can Chappie come back when we get Barnes? Yeah, we'll get him back for that.
Who's he been linked with? He's been linked with Brighton, hasn't he?
Barnes.
Yeah. But he's a decent player, though. He's definitely one I'd look at as well. But we kind of like, as Tom mentioned,
I've got to wash my eye out. I'll be right back. Sorry.
Yeah, go for it. But yeah, I mean, it seems like they think that he's good enough to be. They're deluded anyway. The Leicester fans, obviously, they're deluded. I think they're coming straight back up, and I think they think that he's a massive part of that happening. But
do you think that I almost felt like he was clinging on to this thought that if Iheanacho was playing, they'd have stayed up. If it had the whole season, it wasn't Rodgers' fault. If he'd have been playing, he'd have been a baller. I think it's more to do with that. That was their last bit of hope. If they just played him all season, they may have stayed up.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the cracking point.
The price tag's definitely pissed him off as well, mate, because he was the one trying to sell him to us for 16 to 20 million.
Yeah.
So we've been chatting to Chappie quite a bit over the close season, and that's one player that I think he thought was most likely to leave. But end of the day, they don't want to lose their players that they think I've got any chance of getting them back up. End of the day, with that price tag, we should take him on. I think he's definitely better than his stats prove. But you got to see, he was stuck behind Sergio Aguero at Man City, and then he's stuck behind Jamie Vardy, who has been, Yeah, exactly.
I think if they play just Awoniyi up front, they're going to be stuck behind him.
Yeah, potentially. But what he didn't answer the question was if he's actually seen him playing a 2 up front with anyone. So that'd be interesting.
Yeah, he did. He said he did that with Vardy after they came back. Because I do remember that, because he was on that hot streak. And then when Vardy came back to fitness, instead of just switching Vardy back in, because Iheanacho was hot, they put them both in together. So he was still scoring after Vardy came back in. I do remember it. I got a couple of Leicester mates, unfortunately for me, but I do remember they were quite happy with that double combo. But Tom, what he was saying about being a bit of a ball hugger and unpredictable, I know you touched on it, but is there anyone who gets Dennis vibes from him? Now, I love Dennis.
100% is. You never know what he's going to do next. Unpredictable. It can get you a goal. I mean, that goal he scored was absolutely magnificent, wasn't it? One of the best little chips that he put in on goal. I was like, And you just got a situation where, does Cooper really like that type of player? I think Cooper likes predictable players. He doesn't like that maverick type player, does he? I mean, we got a couple, but they're predictable in what they're going to do because they're consistent with it.
Yeah. And where do you think Dennis's best place is? Just quickly touching on Dennis.
On the left, without a doubt.
I agree. Yeah, I don't agree with what Ted's saying there. He's definitely a left winger there.
Yeah.
And all right, so jumping back to where we were before Chappie rudely interrupted us, what I'm dying to know, Tom, is your take on Jono, in terms of, forget the formation and where he fits in, but where do you stand on the whole sell keep debate with Jono?
Yeah. I'm going to get hated on this because I think sell him.
Okay.
I do. I think the couple of games where he wasn't playing, we looked like a better unit. I think he, at the end of you can go 85 minutes and you might get one moment of brilliance, but that wasn't it wasn't a regular thing, was it? We got, what did he get, 9 goals, 10 goals?
Yeah.
I think in a couple of years, he's going to be a worldie. And I think if we kept hold of him for another season, you'd probably be getting like 100 million. And he's going to go off to Madrid or one of the big top 6.
So how much would you sell him for? Have you got a minimum, or you just like even the Brentford bid at 30 mil is good enough?
No, like 55, 60 million, I'd cash in.
Yeah. I don't. You said you get Hayden there, but no, I don't. I don't think. I mean, there is a bit actually. That's great on you. I'm not opposed to the right price for Jono.
Honestly, I'd prefer to see Scarpina playing on the right than I would. I think he's not been played in his right position through the whole of the season, and I think given the fact he's had a small period of time, he's established himself within the group. I think you're going to get the best out of him if we play him in his right position too. And I'd be like, and I'm not sure he's going to Villa. I don't think I'd want to see him there. But if he's got an opportunity for one of the bigger clubs, then I think he's off, isn't he? Anyway.
Yeah, although I do agree with you, I really want to see Scarpina on the pitch. Is it too risky as an unknown entity though? Because he's only had a couple of games in a Forest shirt. What if he was to flop? Or are you that confident in him that you think, especially with the Cooper style of football?
Yeah, look at Danilo and how he came in and played, given those few games that he really got to grip with things. And I'm sat there thinking, why didn't they do that? Why didn't they play him in his right position? He's better than Danilo. I've watched some of the Brazilian stuff, and I got friends from the club we signed him from, and they're like, he's 10 times the player. He said he's just not playing him in the right position.
So you're back in my good graces. Do you get what I'm saying at this? I'm going to put a poll. I'm going to put a question out on Scarpa. I don't know what yet, but I'm just making it up now. What do you think on this Scarpa thing?
I definitely want to see Scarpa get more game time, no doubt about that.
Ahead of Jono, though. Ahead of Jono.
But this is what I was going to say. Yeah, but at the cost of Jono being out, possibly not for me. He's got to give him options anyway. But I don't think he's a straight swap in the sense that Cooper's going to play him that way. So Cooper's obviously not played him in the right position at all season. And when he has been given the opportunity to do so, has he got the trust in him? I'm more from my own point of view, he's got to get more game time. But I still think Jono's got a part to play for us. And everyone's got a price, 60, 65 million. If that comes in, then you got to, I think the club will take it seriously. It doesn't matter what I think. I think the club will take that seriously. But I think the fallback is that we have
it's split in the poll. The poll split a bit here. I'm surprised.
I don't think I'm as surprised as when we talked about it a week ago. I think there was a lot clearer split on it last week, and now it's a bit more. People are giving it a bit more airtime, but I think it's a serious opportunity for Forest to have a look at what we're going to do down that side, because there's other players that I've talked to you about off air that I think we could go in for that are half the price of what Jono's being quoted at. Yeah. So if we can spend that money correctly and also put it towards the new stadium and this and that, we've got to be honest with, and I think I was being a bit arrogant myself and last week as well, that we are still a selling club. Let's not forget that we're not at top echelons yet. We're not.
I don't agree with that, man. Who have we sold recently?
Listen, if a bigger club come in for one of our players, we will sell them. That's what I mean.
Brentford came in for Jono when we were in the championship.
But when the price is right, yeah. But that was a different opportunity. That was a weighing up the options. Is it? And like I was still saying, I think it's still more valuable to us than 60 million. But if that 60 million's spent correctly and in the right direction, then that they can make it work. But I think what excites me is what Tom just touched on right at the start of this. That in a season's time, he could be looking at 100 million worth. If he has another season and he progresses and he does that with us, you could be looking at 90 to 100 million for Jono. But that's the only thing that would persuade me to keep him for another season. But if 60 million comes in for him and we can replace him, we have got Scarpa. Scarpa is a player that we haven't given the opportunity, whose best position is definitely coming in from the right. It's an option, isn't it? I'm not dead against selling Jono that I was a week ago, but I think the price has got to be right, and we've got to have players either coming in.
You did a whole short on it saying he must stay. I love Jono.
No. That wasn't quite the message that came out of that one, but it was more about, let's think about, is he more valuable to us keeping him than getting the 60 million for him now? But if we can spend it in the right direction, there are players out there. Let's not be too stuck up to think that we've got the best players in the league. There's players out there that are available. So yeah, if the price is right, he can go.
Yeah, I'll say one more thing on this Jono thing, because we talked about it for weeks, and it is. Let's wait to if and when something does happen. But on the poll, this has surprised me. The question was, would you want Scarpa to start ahead of Jono? 44% said yes, 34% said no, and 22% said I don't mind. It's quite surprising, because I don't know if few of you guys have been on the old boozer tonight or what's going on, but interesting. The one thing I will say about Jono is it's the price thing. If the price is right, then he has to go. It's as simple as that. Football is a business, and football needs to. Tom has been smoking something. This is the thing. And Dina, you're saying you don't forget without the Jono girls will be down. Firstly, no one here has sat here, Dino, and said that sell Jono right now. Everyone's talked about a price. Firstly, yeah. Secondly, this whole Jono's goals will be down. You can say the same argument for the Awoniyi goals. You could say the same argument if you really wanted to for Chris Wood's one goal. That was the point, we got against Man City. You could say it for so many things. You could say it about Dean Henderson's saves against West Ham, the penalty save and all this. So you can't pick out a moment in a season and say that defines all the points you would get. And if you took that one player out, how do you know? Could you go back in time and replay that game without him? No. So that would be my point on it. But again, you're missing the point that we're just having the debate. No one's putting him to the sword. Only Simon hates. I'm joking. Simon is watching. Just a very quick shout out, Visual Joker. You're always way too generous, buddy. Thank you so much for the 199. How would Jono play next year if we play two strikers? And that is the problem, isn't it, Tom? He's not going to fit into that formation. It alludes to the point that you brought up earlier, where you thought we looked better with him out the team at the end.
Yeah, I just think we have a bit more fluidity when he's not playing. and he does seem to taper off in games. When he's on fire, he's like amazing, but he does go missing. And I just thought we played better as a unit without him, and we were a little bit more defensively sound as well.
It's a fair point. It's one that's always going to cause the debates, and that's what we love to do here. I mean, you lot in the chat are going absolutely crazy. Tony's saying Jono causes problems constantly at home. That's another good point, and it's something I'd level to Morgan Gibbs-White. He was a lot better at home, in my opinion, than the rest. What's Mikey saying? We didn't miss Jono when he wasn't playing. I do like him. I just think the team can progress more with 60 to 65 million. Mark, get in the Simon camp. You two are going to get hate mail for his family. I know exactly what he's saying. W Bubbles saying Maddison scored 2 more goals and got 3 times the assist, all in 8 fewer games, and only went for 40 million. If he goes, we'll all be disappointed with the price. But Maddison's a championship player, technically speaking.
Championship tax, wasn't it? Otherwise, if he was still, and if he was still had time on his contract as well, longer on his contract, you'd be looking at 60 to 80 mil for him, because he is that kind of player on the current market. No player's worth anything more than what they're worth, but on the total value of it, the fact that they're relegated is what brought his price down. Otherwise, you're not getting James Maddison for 40 million in the normal market.
And chat, Sai is in the chat. Make sure you'll remind him that he hates Jono. Look, one thing I like to this Jono debate, because everyone's talking about give him 1 more year at least and then see where he stands. Now, I don't think we're going down. I'm just putting a hypothetical, right? Let's say Jono has a hot season, and all the wrong moons align, and we get screwed with injuries and what have you, and Forest go down. Would that not crash his value? Would that not do that for you, Tom? Do you not think it could be risky if Forest were to go down next year? I'm not saying it again, just to reiterate. I said 7th. Is there a risk that we would have to sell him cheap, and probably at that £30 million mark?
I don't know, because if he's having a good season, he's scoring 20, 25 goals, isn't he?
All right, let's say he has the same season as this year. He's consistent. He's still putting it out there, scoring a couple of goals.
He's going to want a Premiership move, as most players of his level do once they get relegated, and we'll get taxed on his price, like most clubs do.
Yeah,
but would it be less than we would get now? Is my point.
Yeah, unless if we're doing badly in January, he might go in the January window.
Oh shit! I didn't even think about that.
And there's also the other option: if he does get given a new contract, that they'll have a price put into his contract, so a relegation clause, and there'll be a minimum value. But I expect that's the minimum he's going to get out of this season, out of this close season, that he'll get a new contract and better terms. Because I think that's what still what it's all about. But if his head gets turned, the fact that he's not said anything, and they're not allowed to come out and say anything anyway, but that Villa story is just not going away, and that's what kind of worries me a little bit.
Yeah,
but
that's the part that worries me the most is Villa.
Yeah, they've not pulled out of it, and they've got European football. They've got some fantastic players that they're lining up to join that squad. They've got, I think, one of the best managers outside the top 6 in Emery as well, and I think they could probably push for that top 6. And there's players like, Matty Cash is still there. I'm sure Cash is, if they're going to have that chat, if it gets serious, then there will be secret talks that will already have been held. And it's just how football works nowadays. Nothing's done out in the open. There's not brown bung bags anymore, but there's definitely, the players are more connected than they've ever been. So certain conversation may have already been had. And that's a club that worries me the most, to be honest. Because if somebody like Newcastle came in, then he's going. But Villa is teetering on, it's a possibility. And it's probably a good possibility for him. But it's up to him how ambitious he is, It's down to him as well.
Do you think some of the bigger clubs are just waiting to see what's happening before they come in and...
I don't know.
I think their targets are different, I think he probably suits the way Emery wants to play. Because I think he's better than Leon Bailey, or he's got more potential than Leon Bailey. And that's probably the position that he's going to be replacing down that right-hand side. So I just think he fits the criteria, and that's what worries me about it.
That's the one that worries me, because to answer your question, Tom, I look at Arsenal. I think they're covered on that right side. You look at Man City, they got decent coverage there-ish. You look at Man U have overspent there, haven't they, on Anthony and Jadon Sancho? Yeah. Technically, you could put Rashford out there. So I don't think there's too many of the bigger teams. Maybe Newcastle, but they've had the whole headache with Gordon, you know. I just don't think. I think it's that tier from a Villa to, you know, that little Spurs. I think maybe even though they just signed on Kulusevski, for me, that's where it fits. But the one interesting point here is what Chester Leicester's saying here is about Harvey Barnes, because Villa want Harvey Barnes or Jono. Those are the two they've scouted as their top priorities. So potentially they could get themselves a cheaper deal with Harvey Barnes, whatever Chester Leicester says, and that could move on. But I want to stop talking about Jono. I said to Ez, we don't want to talk Jono tonight. We've overdone Jono. Is there any closing remarks either of you want to say on Jono? And I'll bring a few of the comments up, or shall we move on from Jono?
Let's move on.
Move on. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the goalkeeper situation. It's the Henderson thing with the other keepers. I mean, Forest, I think, have bidded, apparently, if you believe reports, on about 19 different goalkeepers this season so far. And it's just getting a little messy. And it's almost hard sometimes to just play out the scenario and how it's working out, because it's clear that Hendo is the number one target. But obviously, we all know what's happened with the De Gea situation and Man U stalling. There is frustration building up. But when you're looking at it, Tom, do you see all these other goalkeepers that we're linked to? Some are decent, some are shitters. Do you see them looking at it potentially as, instead of Hendo, as a backup plan? Or do you see it as we need a number two as well? And could Forest end up recruiting two goalkeepers?
We definitely need a number two. What we've got is not good enough. And as far as the Hendo situation, he wants to come to Forest. He must be more frustrated than anyone. Because he doesn't want to play for Man U. He doesn't want to be a Man U player, does he?
Sorry, Tom, 1 second. No. They're saying you got an echo, and I think they are right. Do me a favor. If you press on settings and then just go audio, and there's an echo cancellation button.
Settings.
Just turn that off and on. We'll see if that fixes it.
Off, on. Okay.
Testing. I think we're good.
Something better?
Chat, are you happy?
Yeah, is that better?
Yeah,
Chat, are you happy? If they're happy, we're happy. I think it's okay.
No, I think Henderson really wants to come to Forest. And he doesn't want to be the Man U number one, I don't think. Doesn't want to play there. He must be more frustrated than anyone else. He's got a club he wants to go to.
Yeah.
You know, he's not getting the move he wants, is he?
Is he the one you want? Would you be happy with Hendo coming in?
I thought he was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was absolutely spectacular, and it was just unfortunate he got injured, wasn't it?
Yeah. Were you happy with Navas when we brought him in? What was your take on Navas, just out of interest?
I thought he was an absolutely great goalkeeper, but every time he parried a ball with your heart's in your mouth. And if you're a defender watching that, I don't think that gives you the most confidence, and maybe alters your positioning a little bit when we're trying to defend. But now, a heart and mouth movement every time the ball was crossed across the line, and I was just like, "Oh no, please don't palm it! Please don't palm it!"
Yeah,
I'm reliving some memories, man.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, looking back on Navas, his first game against Leeds was amazing. He was obviously he was sensational as a match winner. And if you look at his performance against Arsenal as well, I think that was his other best performance of the season, because he did the solid things that he wanted him to do. He caught the ball, he came out, got catches, he took blocks, he didn't parry into the penalty area like he has been doing. But those two performances is probably what kept us up. But around it, there was a lot of shit that we were like, oh, what the hell are you doing? He's either world class or Sunday League. You know, is one or the other with him. But I think answering that question, Sana, yeah, definitely. I think we need two goalkeepers. We need a backup as well. And some of the ones that we've been linked with, we got that crackle back again. Some of the ones we've been linked with.
Tom's still back, mate.
Is it me again?
Yeah, I don't know if you got the speakers up high. Maybe I don't. Can I change some of your? I can.
It's more of a crackle. Yeah, it's more of a crackle than an echo. But yeah, some of the goalkeepers we've been linked with. Another one I saw today. They're looking like backup goalkeepers. They're not looking like first choice. I think our first choice is and will be like it was last season. Like MG Dub was the number one target. Dean Henderson is going to be the number one target, and certainly from the club's point of view, and not just from Cooper's point of view, from a club's point of view, they're going to do everything they can to get Hendo over the line. Man United, this is the thing that annoys me about United, though, because of the arrogance of that club. They know they're not going to get Hendo. Hendo doesn't want to play for them. He's not interested in playing for them. They're not even looking to have him as their number one. But they're still going to keep us waiting until they sort their own shit out. But they've been linked with players like Onana, haven't they? And I think he's
apparently they can't afford him. I saw a weird report today saying it would breach the FFP for them if that happened. So they're looking elsewhere, which again could cause delays even further on the fucking Hendo deal. And that's starting to get annoying. Is there a stage? And let me ask you this, Tom, I'm muting you in between you talking just because of the thing. But is there a stage where you would say enough is enough and we need to walk away from Henderson, even though he wants to come, even though we want him? Is there a time you think where potentially you would be like, screw you, man, we're fucking going to look elsewhere? The pond is a lot deeper than just Hendo.
I think he's one of the best goalkeepers in the Premier League. And I think we sign a number two that's slightly better than what we want and hope that this gets resolved. Because he's such a great... I mean, what he did at Sheffield United was wonderful, wasn't it?
Yeah, he kept him up,
And it was the form he started to show at Forest before he was injured. I was like, happy days with him in goal, you know?
Yeah, but is there a cutoff time? Would you be happy to approach the start of the Premier League campaign? Say we're sitting here 2nd of August, 10 days to go, and it's still going to happen. Would you be happy, or do you want to see him have a pre-season as well? Is there a cutoff for you?
Well, he's going to be getting a pre-season somewhere on some level.
I don't think he'll do it, Man U, though. That's the thing.
No.
He's refusing, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to be training. He's going to be up to speed. I mean, how he'll be over his injury fully yet? Who knows? But I think we already know who he is. We already know what he does. He's played with the players around him, and him coming back in. Even if it goes down to the last day, I'd be happy if we get him even on the last day of the transfer window, to be honest with you.
What about you, Ez? Would you go that far?
No. It'll be a worst case scenario, but I kind of agree with Tom that he could just slot straight in. It's not a totally new player that you're introducing into the club. He's stuck there pretty much throughout the whole season, didn't he? Even after his injury. So he's not going to be a new face to the dressing room. In terms of his injury, actually, we don't know if he's fully recovered, if he's back on the grass training. So we haven't had that update.
He's still got, I think, 3 or so weeks to get fit.
Right. So exactly.
Pre-season, just to come back on what Tom said. He will have part of a pre-season, whether it's at Man U, whether it's at Forest. But from what I saw recently, he's still not fully recovered. And is that a little worry as well?
I think that's why we have to get 2 goalkeepers. You got to have a backup goalkeeper anyway. I think we'll all agree, and I'm sure Tom will back us up. Hennessy is not that backup goalkeeper, not for the Premier League. So we've got to be looking at another goalkeeper. And if it turns out that goalkeeper ends up starting the season until Hendo's back and fully fit, then so be it. It gives somebody an opportunity to really stamp their place. But there's a few really good goalkeepers that we have been linked with. Yes, you're right. There's been about a dozen or so, and it seems to be a new name every single day. But they've been quality. Some of them have been decent quality, and I think they'd be backups anyway. Apart from Livakovic, which we haven't really gone back into with any firm.
He's not been heavily linked this window.
No, he's not been heavily linked. The rest of them are backup goalkeepers. They're not first choice goalkeepers. So one of them's going to get an opportunity to start the season potentially. But with his injury not being fully, him being fully fit yet, we're not missing out too much in terms of his pre-season training and stuff. So I think we can kind of not kick the can down the road a bit, but we can give him a bit more time. And he's a player that 100%, mate. I think even look at Morgan Gibbs-White, we didn't sign him till the season had started, you know. So if he's a number one target, I think they'll wait. I think they'll wait. And he's not fully fit yet, so I think we can wait a little bit longer for him.
Yeah. Do you think, Tom, I'll come to you this question. But before I do, chat, there's over 220 odd of you in here. Please hit that like button if you haven't already. And don't forget 2 things. 1, go and follow Tom if you got Instagram. Get him to 1 million followers because he's already well over 500,000. The absolute legend. Tom, again, thank you so much for being on with us tonight, buddy. And if you haven't already, can you subscribe to FFTV Premier League? It's the new channel of one of the few channels we're adding. The link is pinned in the comments. So please make sure you take a second. There's going to be so much variety of content coming out next season. This channel will remain focused on Forest, of course, as it always has been so far. And then there'll be other little pockets of different things we're doing. We'll explain it all once everything's up and running, but if you wouldn't mind taking a second to do it. And as Crypto's put it there, that's Tom's Instagram. Please make sure you follow him there. Football Manager is coming back tomorrow night. I already kept Forest up. We finished 11th in season 1. I finished the upgrades on the computers. Everything is working smoothly. So make sure you're following Wolverine Gaming as well. Okay, so Tom, I want to move this on to talk a bit more about, before I do, speak of the devil, Matt SB. How are you, buddy? Thank you so much for the 199. Been watching your prediction streams, Matt. Your videos. Me and I've had a few chats about it. Interesting where you got Forest. Hope you well. Make sure you subscribe to Matt SB as well. He's an absolute legend, and it still hurts that Coventry didn't quite make it across the line. And guys, if you want Matt SB on soon, tell Matt to jump on the stream. Maybe next 100%. Week or the week after or something. We'll bring him on.
Matt, definitely.
Yeah, and it's a great channel. Okay, Tom, so I want to talk about the Forest transfer strategy this window. It's clear that we're not going to be buying 22 or 23 players. But do you feel, one, what's the number you think we need? And secondly, based on what you've seen so far, I know it's early doors into the window. Do you think Forest are kind of doing it step by step? So deal with Hendo, then move on to the next player, then move on. Or do you think they'll do what they did where they were getting like 3 or 4 deals discussed and then day after day we were seeing players signing in? Do you think it'll be a bit more of a chilled out approach this window?
Well, I think they got much more of a structured plan, and they're slowly going through which players they need, who's going to add quality to the team. I'm just wondering who this marquee signing is that they're going to add.
Yes, they promised us one.
So if we get what we're promised, which the Greek father gives us usually what he promises. So there's a marquee signing on.
Maybe Woods was the marquee. I said his name.
Yeah, don't say that.
I'll hang my face in shame. Sorry, carry on, Matt. Tom, sorry.
So if we get that in, we do need a couple of strikers. We do need a new centre back. Someone to add to the mix in the midfield. So I think that we don't 6 players for me, quality players. Then 1 or 2 of these £8 million bargains from relegated sides, just to replace the people that are going to be bench warmers during the season. Players like they brought in, like Shelby, can go, and I think Sturridge hasn't been given a fair chance, has he? Really? So
where are you on Sturridge? Let's divert very slightly. I've always got to ask any guest about this. What are your thoughts on Sturridge?
Yeah, I think he's not really been given a fair chance. I think he's a great finisher.
Is he the best finisher in the club?
Yeah, he should have been given, but for whatever reasons he hasn't been. I'd send him out on loan for a season.
So you wouldn't sell?
I wouldn't sell it. I'd send him out on loan for a season and see if he can produce some good football at a slightly lower level club than ourselves. And then, if he's doing well, then bring him back.
Where would you be looking? Would you be looking upper end of Championship or lower Premier League? What kind of level would you be looking to loan him out to?
Let's send him to Leicester, cheer up Chappie a bit.
You know what? He would do a job there. I don't think that's a bad shout. I really don't.
He probably would, yeah.
That is a really good shout. And he would work in, as much as I said to piss out of Leicester, they still will have a nucleus of a decent Championship team. So that's not a bad shout there, Tom. That's not a bad shout. But okay, Chaffee will be WhatsApping me in a second, no doubt. Just very quickly, Chris, thank you so much for becoming a gold member. Appreciate it, buddy. Way too generous. Thank you so much, bud. They don't, Villa. They don't want 40 mil. He'll never go for 40 mil. That's way too much. The guys in the chat are saying loan him out as well to the Championship. And Simon F, good to see you, man. Respect to FFTV for keeping it going through the gap, and a big up to Matt Top Channel. Thank you so much for the £5, Simon. I hope you are well. We haven't had a chance to catch up in a bit. And it is, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, we are working with what we have in the transfer window. I'm sure the Greek father is gonna shower us again with that marquee signing. But just back to the question, Tom, are you happy with this more pragmatic approach, or do you want to be spoiled again like we were last summer? But it did create some issues, didn't it, on the pitch?
No, last summer was crazy. I know it needed to be done because it's a complete overhaul coming from the Championship up to the Premier League. But no, we need 6 top quality players that are going to add something. Hopefully, all like 80% Prem proven on some level, or top. I'd love a top international that's proven themselves in England at some point. Either bringing someone back from Europe that's played here before, or someone that's in the Premier League that we can go after. But we need players that are going to add to what we've already got.
Yeah. How much do you think we will spend? I love asking this question because everyone gives a variety of answers. What do you think the sweet spot is realistically?
I think 85 to 100 mil, and then the 60 million we get for Jono.
So a net spend of what, like 40 mil. Between 40 and 20 mil, something like that. Logically, it makes sense, doesn't it? But it's a tough one to do. I'd find it hard to let Jono go. Sorry, go on, Ernest.
No, it's been interesting because we've asked this question to our guests over the last couple of weeks about what kind of positions are you looking at, what kind of players are you looking at, and it just shows the intelligence of our Forest fan base that we've all pretty much said the same positions and 5 or 6 players that we'd be looking to get in. And I know there's certain sources at the club that probably pay attention to what our fans have got to say, but it's interesting to hear that there's quite a lot of similarity in the types of players that we think the club needs, or that we think the team needs, and the positions that we're looking at. So it's just interesting to hear what Tom had to say there, because it pretty much aligns with what the rest of us have been saying over the last few weeks, doesn't it, Oksana?
Yeah, and how many do you think will go, Tom? That's another interesting question that we're asking all the guests. Do you see? Well, let me put it this way: who are the key ones you would like out at the club?
Shelby straight out the door.
Yeah.
First and foremost, couple of the defenders, maybe McKenna. I like McKenna, but I think he's just going to be sat around on the bench or not really getting a full-time spot. Who else is there? I think Dennis is going to go.
Yeah.
I think Dennis will be out. Jono possibly. Who else?
Would you keep Freuler?
See, I think Freuler's been played out of position because he plays really well on the international level. So I think if they're going to play him in his right position, then maybe. And against certain teams, you do need a player like him.
Yeah.
So those probably.
Yeah. There has been some rumours of links, I think, to Genoa or someone with Freuler. Can you see that happening, Ez? Do you think he could be moved on?
There's also been a Atalanta defender that we've been linked with as well. So maybe there might be some possibility, because if there was a possibility of him going back to Atalanta, wasn't there? But I think he will possibly go back.
Demiral.
Demiral. But there is talk of him going back to Italy if he goes back anywhere. I just don't think he's with the pace. And I agree with what Tom says. I think he's been played out of position. I think we said that throughout the season. He's certainly not a CDM. But I don't think he's quite got the pace of a Premier League either. And I think we played better. We looked more cohesive when he was out of the team. Similar to what they're saying about with Jono missing a few games. I think there's no doubt about the difference it made when Freuler was left out of the team. So I don't think he fits going forward. And I don't think, if even with the new formation that we're thinking Cooper might go for, I don't think it quite works, purely because I don't think he's with the pace of the Premier League. So he'd be one that I would move on if we could. But it's more about, we've talked about it, getting the players off the wage sheet rather than the transfer fees that we're going to get for some of these players, because we are paying a hell of a lot of wages for players that I don't think are anywhere near Cooper's plans going forward. So that's where we've got to be looking to move on those players. And we could have this chat about O'Brien as well. You know, that he's been brought up again in the chat, whether he's going to be coming back to Forest or not, because of the extension of when their season ends. But he's due back on the middle of July.
2 weeks,
in a couple of weeks. So what happens with O'Brien? It'd be interesting to get Tom's views on O'Brien. Actually, what does he think? Does he think he's got a future?
I've been interested in that just before. Crypto, thanks so much for the £2. The bottle of your behind Ez, I'll give you £2 for it. Thank you so much, Maisie. And just before we ask Tom about O'Brien, I've just seen it behind you, Ez, the local heroes plaque.
Yes.
Do you want to just quickly show the chat? So we've been speaking with the legend that is Tony Woodcock, and he's got this company that's doing all these plaques here, as shown by Ez, and it's just reflecting back his screen.
No, sorry.
If you'd like to get your hands on that, we'll put the link for it in the description. It's going to be a limited edition that they do, and they will change. You won't have Ez on there. You can personalize it to have your own name, and it's quite heavy, isn't it, Ez?
Yeah, it's got a bit of weight to it. Yeah, definitely.
A little meat to it. You can hang it up on the wall. I don't think it has a kickstand, so it's more a frame one that you can put up. We'll get the link up in the chat for you in just a second. If you want to go and grab that, I think they're $49.99 off the top of my head. That's right. So check it out if you want to grab that. Feel free to. It's got the local heroes on, and it will be a limited edition one as well. Tom. O'Brien, where are you on the O'Brien debate, mate?
Well, I liked him as a player. I thought he was early doors. He was one of the better players that we brought in. Obviously, had a huge disagreement, fell out with somebody. Cooper didn't seem to like him, and we're having, you know, we sold him basically, didn't we? And it just didn't go through due to paperwork issues. I don't think after that, are you really going to bring that player back in and get the best out of him?
But is there stuff to offer in there? I still feel there's a player. Would you use them as a swap deal? Like, 'cause maybe someone like a Leeds, you know, we're talking about Tyler Adams and things. Would that be something you may look at to do with them?
I think sometimes you just need a clean slate, don't you? And I think that's probably what he needs. And if we could do a swap deal for Adams, that would be absolutely amazing.
Yeah. I still like him. I still do. So for me, I'd consider keeping him. But if it meant Tyler Adams coming, I'd absolutely love to have him. Okay. One thing I want to touch on is positions, Tom. We ask all our guests coming on here. As we go into this new season, what are your hopes? What are your expectations? And where do you think Forest will finish, mate? And there's the link for the Tribal Passions local hero, guys. If you want it, it's in the chat there for you. So go on, Tom. Are you delusional like me, or are you pessimistic like Ez?
I think we're going to have a good season. I'm hoping that Cooper can, you know, play the style of football he wants to play, and we can be successful with it.
Yeah.
And I think like maybe 12th or 11th. That's where I see it, 12th or 11th.
Isn't that what you were saying? As you were saying about 12th?
Yeah, top half of the bottom of the league. Yeah, 12th or 11th. Yeah.
What do you think we need to get there, Tom? How do we get there?
We need to rectify the away form.
We
need to figure out how to win away. I think our home form is great, and if we can stay at that level and improve it and pick up more on the road, I think we've got a good chance of that place.
What do you think was the issue away from home? It was a huge route. I mean, if you had the answers, they'd employ you tomorrow kind of thing. But watching it as a fan, what was sticking out for you when we went away from home? Why was it so much different to the City ground, even though technically the play style wasn't massively different, was it? It was still low block football both ways.
Well, you got the Forest fans that have been the loudest they've ever been. And according to lots of people over many seasons, it's been the most they've heard from us as a group. Yeah, I think, you know, with that behind you, you get the extra man, you push harder, you give a little bit more. And I think we just got into a system where we lost so many away. It was almost like we're going to go away and lose. Every question in the media to Cooper was like, your away form's terrible. This is, how is it going to be improved? And he's like, well, we know the away form's bad. We talked about it. And I just think it's like, they got into this rut of continually playing badly away from home and never really got a break away from home. So I think if we'd got 2 or 3 on the bounce, a couple of draws, a win, I think it would give us that confidence to win away. But when you're playing low block football against attacking home sides, you're just waiting to ask for trouble, aren't you?
Yeah.
Well, how do you think it's going to start this season with our away fixtures? Because it's Arsenal. Who is that? I forgot now. Man City,
Arsenal, Man City, Chelsea, Man U,
and then
Man
Palace,
U,
Liverpool, isn't it? I mean, that's a tasty way to start those away games, Tom. Can you see a different approach, especially in the first part of the new season?
It's going to have to be. We're going to have to go and pick up points in the places where we haven't. We're going to, even if it's just a point away from home, we need to win at home, which we've proved we can do against anyone, really. I think, Man City are going to add to their squad, and that's going to be a really hard game for anybody this season. I can see them doing like the Invincibles and not losing a game all season. I think they're going to be even better than they were last season. Arsenal, with the hangover of not winning the Premier League, not a bad time to play them.
But Declan Rice making his debut. They're going to have Timber coming in. They've got, Kai Havertz. I don't get that one, but they're strengthening, and we'll be up against them first up.
Yeah,
you know, worried about that one?
If we want to be in the Premier League and we want to compete, we've got to put up a fight against these sides. Every game in the Premier League is a hard one, and if we pick up a win where we didn't think we should, and a couple of draws over the first 6 to 8 games, then that's not too bad, is it? Really?
Yeah.
What would be a good points return from you once we've finished the, say, who's the fourth one? Is it Man U, the fourth one?
It's Man U, I think, the fourth one. So
the first, let's just say the first 6 games, how many points are you thinking would be respectable coming out of it, Tom?
I think from who we're playing, if we've got 6 points on the board, that's not a bad return.
So how are you seeing that? You seeing that as 2 home wins against Burnley, Sheffield United, and who's it? Burnley, isn't it?
Is it Brentford before Burnley?
Yeah, I think we're going to get a couple of home wins. And I hope that's the worst case scenario. I hope we get like a point away as well.
Yeah.
Do you think
6 to 8 points, depending on, I'd love to, I hate playing Man U. This last season, I was just like, no. I just really hope we go there and surprise them and beat them, because I can't stand losing to Man U.
I'd take a point, mate. I'd take a point against them at any point. But it's a good point you made. I mean, away from home, we just didn't get the breaks, did we? Because if you look back at some of our home wins last season, we had an element of luck in them, and we just didn't have that same element of luck away from home. It became a burden, didn't it? It definitely became a crux of the players because of how bad that form was. And I think that definitely psychologically played a part. And when you look at the result, like, for example, the Brentford game, when we had the game in the bag with 10 minutes to go, and for a couple of reasons, and we ended up losing, not only not hanging on to the point, we end up losing the game. So there was a psychological factor in our away form. But what I'm hoping for more than anything else, and I think Tom will agree with this, but we don't have those horrendous defeats, even at Man City and Arsenal, where we lost 6-0 and 5-0 and capitulated and lost 3 or 4 goals in quick, short space of time. As long as we can wipe that out, for me, that's a big progress to our form, full stop. 6 to 8 points, I think, is what Tom went for from those 6 games. And I think that'd be a great return from those games, wouldn't it?
Look, normally I wouldn't bite, but I can't resist. You just see the name. Maybe I miss Dino a little, and that's why I'm saying this. Dino, you're a bellend. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say it straight. How can you do predictions when you ain't seen who are leaving, who we are signing, or what other teams are doing? Okay, you want to point out who made a score prediction there, or were we talking about who would like to see what points coming in? But anyway, either listen or fuck off. It's completely up to you. Okay, right.
Don't bite.
It's been about an hour and a half. We've covered a lot of the main topics off. I want to take a quick second to thank Tom for joining us all the way from Turkey. Tom, is it an hour ahead of us, or is it a couple?
Two at the moment.
Two at the moment. When you next back in England?
next back in, I would be back with like even brighter teeth and longer hair. No, 10 days. I'm back in England in 10 days' time.
Oh,
Jack, we can't have him back on. He's so good looking. He'd almost give Felipe a run for his money, wouldn't he? I'm not used to being the second best looking one on the streams. I want to say thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's so nice to see all the different Forest fans coming in and joining us and having chats. And it's just crazy, you know. Tom doing all his crazy TV stuff. We had Nick on TikTok from last week. All these guys, and the one thing that just connects us all is that core is our love for Forest. So, guys, make sure you're following Tom on Instagram. Crypto will put his link in the description as always. Quick reminder from me and Ez, we've got the barbecue coming up on the 6th of October, on August at the Trent Nav. 3 p.m. the doors will open. We'll get all the ticket information up onto the community tab, and we'll explain it all in the videos as they come. But we're just getting that all confirmed. But the date is now definitely confirmed. So if you can keep that free in the diary, it would be absolutely fantastic. And if you haven't already, please do hit that like button, subscribe to FFTV. And one final thing from me, go make sure you check out My Tribal Passions for the plaque that Ez has got if you're interested in that, and give us a quick subscribe on the FFTV Premier League channel, and we'll see you tomorrow on the not tomorrow, Monday, on the Daily News, because we're not here tomorrow. And until then, come on you Reds.